You have to tell everybody where that button is. Yesterday was the same. We couldn't hear the class, and then by the grace of not the bar, you press one button and there, then the class is broadcast. So we have to remember where that button is. Very important button. Please chant. Brahma Vacha Gyato Shimeja Suchirana Nudeya Bhajam Nagyayate Bhagavato Gatya Vivadyam Nanya Tarasti Bhagavana Pitan Shuddhang Maya Guna Vyatakaradya Duru Vibhashi Gyato Shimeja Suchirana Nudeya Bhajam Nagyayate Bhagavato Gatiratya Vadyam Nanya Tarasti Bhagavana Pitan Shuddhang Maya Guna Vyatakaradya Duru Vibhashi Gyato Shimedya Suchirana Nudeya Bhajam Nagyayate Bhagavato Gatiratya Vadyam Nanya Tarasti Bhagavana Pitan Shuddhang Maya Guna Vyatakaradya Duru Vibhashi. Ladies, no problem. Oh, you have to chat. You didn't chat yet. Brahma Vacha Gyato Shimedya Suchirana Nudeya Bhajam Nagyayate Bhagavato Gati Ityabadyam Nanya Tarasti Bhagavana Pitan Shuddhang Maya Guna Vyatakaradya Duru Vibhashi Brahma Uvacha Lord Brahma said, Gyata, known, Asi, you are, may, by me, Adya, today, Suchirat, after a long time, Nanu, but, Dehabhajam, of one who has a material body, Na, not, Gyayate, is known, Bhagavata, of the personality of Godhead, Gati, course, Iti, so it is, Avadyam, great offense, Na anyat, none beyond, Tvat, you, Asti, there is, Bhagavan, O my Lord, Api, even though there is, Tat, anything that may be, Na, never, Shuddham, absolute, Maya, material energy, Gunavyatikarat, because of the mixture of the modes of, Yat, to which, Uru, transcendental, Vibhasi, you are. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Lord Brahma said, "O my Lord, today, after many, many years of penance, I have come to know about you. Oh, how unfortunate the embodied living entities are that they are unable to know your personality. My Lord, you are the only knowable object because there is nothing supreme beyond you. If there is anything supposedly superior to you, it is not absolute. You exist as a supreme by exhibiting the creative energy of matter." Purport. The highest peak of the ignorance of the living entities who are conditioned by material bodies is that they are unaware of the supreme cause of the cosmic manifestation. Different people have different theories regarding the supreme cause, but none of them are genuine. The only supreme cause is Vishnu, and the intervening impediment is the illusory energy of the Lord. The Lord has employed his wonderful material energy in manifesting many, many wonderful distractions in the material world. And the conditioned souls, illusioned by the same energy, are thus unable to know the supreme cause. The most stalwart scientists and philosophers, therefore, cannot be accepted as wonderful. They only appear wonderful because they are instruments in the hands of the illusory energy of the Lord. Under illusion, the general mass of people deny the existence of the Supreme Lord and accept the foolish product of illusory energy as supreme. One can know the supreme cause, the personality of Godhead, by the causeless mercy of the Lord, which is bestowed upon the Lord's pure devotees like Brahma and those in his disciplic succession. By acts of penance only was Lord Brahma able to see the Garbha Daksha Vishnu. And by realization only could he understand the Lord as he is. Brahma was extremely satisfied upon observing the magnificent beauty and opulence of the Lord, and he admitted that nothing can be comparable to him. Only by penance can one appreciate the beauty and opulence of the Lord. And when one is acquainted with that beauty and opulence, he is no longer attracted by any other. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 2:59, Param Drisva Nivartate. Foolish human beings who do not endeavor to investigate the supreme beauty and opulence of the Lord are here condemned by Brahma. It is imperative that every human being try for such knowledge. And if anyone does not do so, his life is spoiled. Anything that is beautiful and opulent in the material sense is enjoyed by those living entities who are like crows. Crows always engage in picking at rejected garbage, whereas the white ducks do not mix with the crows. Rather, they take pleasure in transparent lakes with lotus flowers, surrounded by beautiful orchards. Both crows and ducks are undoubtedly birds by birth, but they are not of the same feather. Om Jnana Timrandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmritamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lankai Tegurim Yat Kripatamaham Bande Shri Gurum Diyantanam. So in everything leading up to this, Lord Brahma is rightfully amazed, as we would be as well, after searching out for 100 years, up to the last minute of his existence. Finally, after pleasing the Lord, the transcendental vision is revealed to him. The same Brahma, the same situation, nothing has changed, but all of a sudden, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. And Prabhupada writes that in his realization, he was able to see. So this is the conclusion, that even though he was sitting on top of the lotus flower, sprouting from the lotus navel, of Garbha Daksha Vishnu, still somehow or other, he could not see the wonderful feature of the Lord just below him. And we don't know how far this is. We understand that Lord Brahma went into the stem and went down. Maharaj needs a seat. Where's your block? Maharaj's block is there. Block. And there's a yoga block. So certainly this is an amazing revelation. For us, we don't have anything to compare. But to a certain extent, we chant this prayer every day. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya. That the spiritual master opens our darkened eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. So we can appreciate that how Lord Brahma came to have his eyes literally opened, as if a veil is removed, and to have this transcendental vision revealed to him. So this is amazing. And what do we have as a result? We have the Sri Brahma Samhita. Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishnaha Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. Lord Chaitanya brought this back from his travels in South India. He copied this 5th chapter. This is not the entire Brahma Samhita. There's only one chapter. Amazing in its glory. There's nothing more perfect. And this is, to a certain extent, this knowledge was kept hidden. And so we see that Prabhupada in the Pandal program, he's saying, do not keep this knowledge locked up. This is his instructions at that time to the people of India. He'd already done his work in the West. Now he'd come back to India. Because he knows that India is the origin in this regard. And that now it is the time is ripe for people to take it up. His strategy was perfect. He knew that if he came to America and started this movement, that then people would understand and recognize the value. One time, Prabhupada was giving a lecture, and he said that in America, they were building 747 airplanes, and India was showing off their latest industrial expertise with an exposition of bicycles and sewing machines. So he said that this was the difference. India is not meant for such material endeavors. This is the land of knowledge, the land of the Brahmanas. And the real duty of everyone, what did Prabhupada give so many instructions that if someone takes birth in India, that his duty is to spread this message. His duty. What's that verse? Bharata Bhumite Manushya Janma Hoila Ja Janma Starta Karikar Para Upakar Janma Starta Karikar Para Upakar. Para Upakar, the highest welfare. The highest welfare. So for 50 years or more now, we see that the Krishna conscious movement has been pushed on everywhere. But the greatest growth now is in Bharatvarsh, as it should be. So we're just here humbly praying that everyone take up this science. This is not sentiment. If anyone comes in contact with the Srimad Bhagavatam and reads just a short, if he comes to that 2nd chapter, 1st canto, or in the 3rd canto here, he must be convinced. He must be convinced about the nature of the Supreme, the truth, eternal. So somehow or other, it is our duty to bring about this revolution. And we're doing. Here you see we're putting together all the Bhakti stacks. Are these Bhakti stacks, Bhakti Jimmy? Are these Bhakti stacks? So this is the duty of the devotees in the Krishna conscious movement. As that, how many are made today? That's how many will be distributed. How many? 50 at least? 40. So 40 Bhakti stacks. Each Bhakti stack, how many books? How many in each Bhakti stack? 3. Unless someone accidentally puts one more, then it's 4. Otherwise, it's 3. Nicely tied up gift wrap with a ribbon, suitable for any occasion, right? Suitable for any occasion. You can approach anyone. Here, give this as a gift to your dearly beloved. Flowers wilt and die, but this is knowledge eternal and will benefit the receiver long after the flowers. So when I was reading this shloka and the shlokas leading up to it, I was just thinking that there's that verse, that so many verses. But yayatama prapadyante tatam sataiva bhajamiha. That as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. And Lord Brahma, he was sitting there and he couldn't see anything. And then all of a sudden, just like in a theatrical presentation, everyone is sitting in the audience and the actors are behind the curtain and everything is set up. The stage is already there. Everyone knows what happens. And then when the curtain goes up, everyone is amazed at how nicely arranged, how the scenery is set. But while the curtain was down, nobody could see. And here it is the same. Lord Brahma's eyes were covered by Maya. But as soon as he surrendered, as soon as he performed his austerity, then Jnana Vairagya, automatically everything was revealed. Automatically. He didn't even have to pull a string to lift the curtain. Just like fog dissipating. Just like when you're driving on the road, you see sometimes there's fog. You cannot see anything. But as soon as the sun comes up, the fog is dissipated. So this analogy Prabhupada uses very frequently in many different ways. So Godhead is light. This is the key. Maya is darkness. So as soon as one is attentive in his austerities and service to the Lord, however it is, here we see Lord Brahma was simply performing austerities, but that was his duty, to understand the cosmos. He knew that there was a purpose for his creation. We can't say that much about those taking birth today in Kali Yuga. No one knows. His question is, why am I born? Why am I here? I didn't ask to be born. Did you ever hear that question? If you're a parent, you hear this all the time. It says, I didn't ask to be born. I didn't ask to be born. Yeah, you have to take care of me. But this is not intelligence. Intelligence means, who am I? Who is God? And what is my relationship with God? Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. These are the 3 essential ingredients Srila Bhaktisiddhanta stressed. And one has to know these complete. And then he can become an instrument in the hands of the Lord. Not an instrument in the hands of Maya, like it's described here in the purport. Right? So we can choose. We can be an instrument. Just like there's an aphorism that's used occasionally. And what do they say? It says that guns don't kill, people kill. Okay? Because some people are saying, no, guns are evil. But that's like saying a hammer is evil or a pair of scissors is evil. What's the difference? It's simply a tool. In the hands of a good person, it's a good tool. In the hands of a bad person, it's a bad tool. It's common sense, but people cannot grasp these simple points, analogy. It's because if they were to grasp these points, then you could speak to them about Krishna consciousness. That everything you see is created. Who is the creator? It's not you. You didn't create the sky, the sun, the moon, the stars. Intelligent design. But that automatically, if someone accepts this, that there is a creator, then he has to accept it. I am subordinate. I am not the supreme controller. And that immediately leads to the dissolution of his illusion, right? Where everyone is caught up now watching those. They use it as a almost as a reference point, that the matrix, the red pill and the blue pill, right? One is illusion and one is reality. So you can speak to a person on the street now and you can find some reference point. But everyone has seen this movie and everyone knows exactly what you mean when you say that, do you want the red pill or the blue pill? Do you want to live in illusion? Are you content with things the way they seem? Or would you like to know the nature of reality? Which is that you are not this body. This is the first thing. The very first thing. Just like Prabhupada was saying in the Pandal. He wasn't going deep into Ras Leela. He wasn't speaking on 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. He wants, because once a person understands the simple fact that I am not this body, then his journey begins. Tato Brahma Jigyasa. That now that we have come to the human form of life, it is time to understand the absolute truth. Okay? So this is the same for everyone. There is no, how can you say, need to adjust the philosophy. You know, based on time and circumstances, we use the analogy, whatever is suitable for that person to understand. And this is the expertise of our book distributors, that they're able to assess very quickly, you know, whether a person is a suitable candidate for getting a bhakti stack or a sapta, 7 books. What's beyond that? We have a bhakti stack and a sapta stack. Well, we have the Bhagavatam sets and CC sets and Lilamrita sets. We have so many different sets. We have a set for every person. A gift for everyone. So we should try to assist the devotees who are taking up this mission of the spiritual master to distribute books. It says, if you love me, then please distribute my books. You know, and Prabhupada in different places said that you will show your love to me by your cooperation, how well you cooperate. But this point of cooperation is, of course, book distribution. This is the point of cooperation. Everything should be done in this regard. And the fact is, Prabhupada so expertly arranged that if book distribution goes on nicely, then everything else goes on. Everything else. And without book distribution, everything collapses. So we have to try to appreciate this point and make sure that the next generation also understands the transcendental truth. Prabhupada made a very simple formula that in distributing books, 50% would go back to printing books and 50% would be used for temple construction. So this is a sacred formula given by the pure devotee, the emissary of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his commander-in-chief. We shouldn't take these things lightly or imagine that we should interpret it in any other way. But we should maintain strict adherence to this point. And to the extent that we do, then to that extent, we will please Srila Prabhupada and the movement will continue. So although the Bhagavatam is filled with so many philosophical purports, such as this, the bottom line to every purport is that one has to follow in the footsteps, Mahajana Yena Katak Sapanta. And we are so fortunate that we had in our close association, His Divine Grace, to show us the way. To show us the way. But again, it is Kali Yuga. Manda Samanda Matayo, Manda Bhagya Upajuta. Men are short-lived, less intelligent, with weak memories or non-existent memories. And so one can very easily forget. They even have a term for it now, short-term memory loss. All right? There was no such thing. Previously, a person could hear something once and never forget. Shruti dhar. Hearing something once, like our Param Guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was known as a Shruti dhar. Now they call it photographic memory, but it's the same. Once seeing or hearing something, you never forget. Photographic memory. But who has such a memory nowadays? No one. And there's many reasons for that. We don't have to detail it, but essentially because people are addicted to sense gratification. Because of this addiction to sense gratification, there's no brain substance. The brain is developed by penance and austerity, especially celibacy. Which is why you see that although many don't know, there's the monasteries where people would become monks. They would remain celibate for their entire life. Why? Nobody knows now. But the fact is, in the Vedas, you understand the point that celibacy leads to the finer intelligence of the brain due to the concentration of blood. We had that explanation. Is that it takes how many bites of food to make one drop of blood? I forget, and then 40 drops of blood to make one drop of semen. So semen is nothing but concentrated blood. And through austerity, by celibacy, the blood in this concentrated form goes to the brain. So that is why celibacy is recommended. Not that you're celibacy just to pinch yourself all the time and artificially repress the senses. No. Because there's a proportionate benefit. As you endeavor in this way and you develop this finer brain substance, then you understand. So it's not simply mindless repression and suppression. You gain a higher understanding. That ability to appreciate these advanced philosophical concepts leads to greater faith and realization. And it's not magic. This has been going on since time immemorial. Just that people don't know about this science in this age. They think celibacy is just whatever, a fad or a useless endeavor. And so they recommend now that there should be no priestly class. They should all be married. There's a big push in like the Catholic Church. Why the priests can't get married? Because they don't understand the point of celibacy. They don't understand the point of concentrated blood rising to the brain and developing this finer brain substance. So our duty, our challenge is to give these books and the basic explanation and pray for all these fallen conditioned souls that Krishna within their heart reveals enough of the transcendental science for them to appreciate and start their journey again. After all, they're in the human form of life. They've done some pious activity. There's some punya kriti, maybe not agyata sukriti, but punya kriti. And so they're eligible. Everyone in the human form of life is eligible. We don't distribute the bhakta stacks to the dogs on the street. They're not eligible, right? In this birth, the trees are not eligible, but they're also living entities, but they're just not eligible at this point. But we can read to the lower animals. Prabhupada said, if we're chanting Hare Krishna, do all the living entities benefit? Said yes. Prabhupada said the flowers, the ants, everything, the grass, everything benefits. Every living entity, even the non-moving. What was that? Who was Maharaj that was saying yesterday? Or was that Matanga was saying? That's certain, the non-moving entities also react. There was one famous Indian scientist named what? The Secret Life of Flowers. Who was the scientist? Bose. He attached electrodes to the plants and he played different types of music and he documented that they had a reaction. Very famous experiments. The Secret Life of Plants. So we understand that plants thrive in certain environments and not in others. They react favorably to certain vibration and unfavorably to others, just like we do. If we hear certain types of music now that we've developed a little touch of the mode of goodness, why? How does that work? Tadara justamo bhavo kamalo bhadayasche. So if we hear some abominable music now, we think, oh, this is terrible. But previously we liked it very much because we were in a different mode. And to the extent that we still like that, that shows that what? That we're not advancing. We're still afflicted by the modes of nature or the mixed modes of nature, like the famous bathroom scenario. Prabhupada quotes that verse, Tadara Dastamo Bhavo. He said, because he understood that nobody took care of this filthy bathroom. That means that they're of the same mode. And he used the analogy, acid and acid, no reaction. Acid and water, reaction. All right? So if you pass by something that's filthy and you do nothing about it, that means that you're also not elevated to that point where it bothers you. It's still acid and acid, or water and water. So we have to come to the mode of goodness. We have to come to the pure mode of goodness, but coming to the mode of goodness is a start. Where we automatically have this distaste for those, whatever it is, whether it's food, whether it's music, whether it's the visual attractions, all these things should no longer hold that same hold. They say it has a hold over him. So it shouldn't exert any hold over us any longer. This is the test of your advancement to a certain extent, that we're no longer attracted. We're experiencing this higher taste. So we have to be, we can gauge our advancement in this way to that extent that we still have affinity for these things, and we can appreciate that. I need to become further purified. I need to concentrate more on pleasing Krishna through my meditation, my japa, my Gayatri. We were discussing, anyway, myself and His Grace Arjunananda. And Prabhupada at one point, there was a question. It says, someone asked, says, why does the spiritual master get sick? And Prabhupada said different things at different times. But on this occasion, he said, because my second initiated disciples are not chanting their Gayatri. Not chanting their Gayatri. So we think it's just a mantra. This is our weak mentality. We take things for granted. And Prabhupada was aware of this. We take things for granted. And that extends even to our deity worship. Sometimes we take things for granted. In Vrindavan, when Prabhupada saw that they were using old flowers for the deities, he was furious. But he kept his composure throughout the Bhagavatam class, another wonderful Bhagavatam class. The temple was newly built only a year ago, and Prabhupada came and things were broken everywhere because of neglect, because there wasn't enough devotees, but this is not an excuse. Sometimes we think, oh, we can't ask the devotees to do more because they'll get burned out. But our duty is to ask them. If we see that the temple is dirty, then we have to figure out, how can it be dirty? How can Krishna's temple be dirty? It's incompatible. Everything should be spotless. Another time, Prabhupada was asked, about, different rules and regulations. There are so many. It's a bit of a joke, the International Society for Rules and Regulations. Prabhupada said, there are so many. He said, if I told you, you would faint. If I told you, you would faint. But at least we have to adhere to certain very common things that the Brahmin cleans, where he eats, where he sleeps, and especially he cleans Krishna's temple. Tan mandira marjanado. Especially, this is our test. And we clean Krishna's temple and we clean our heart. This is the most practical way to advance for the neophyte devotee, is to cleanse his heart by cleansing Krishna's temple. Otherwise, why such things are mentioned in the prayers that we chant every single day? Is it just a musical arrangement of words that sound nice when they're strung together? No. Just like we chant, Yasya prasadat bhagava prasada. By the satisfaction of the spiritual master, then, of course, Krishna is satisfied. So we should read the purport again, the translation, not the purport. Chapter 9, text 1, Brahma's prayer for creative energy. Lord Brahma said, "O my Lord, today after many, many years of penance, I have come to know about you. Oh, how unfortunate the embodied living entities are that they are unable to know your personality. My Lord, you are the only knowable object because there is nothing supreme beyond you. If there is anything supposedly superior to you, it is not the absolute. You exist as the supreme by exhibiting the creative energy of matter." Is that clear? Because you cannot create life. This is the common formula when we were young and we were rebellious. If you cannot create life, therefore you cannot take life. Okay? So there's many instances in that regard, and it can be applied to war, it can be applied to abortion, it can be applied to many things. But even the karmis, they say that. If you cannot create life, then how can you take life? The whole vegetarian movement is all, based on this. It's a sentiment, but it can be exploited to bring them to a higher level of realization with regards to who is the creator then? Who is the creator? Many people accept that God is the creator. And it was interesting when we were reading yesterday that Lord Brahma is not counted technically among the demigods in one sense, because he's the creator. All those demigods emanate from him. So he is the elder in that sense. He's a semi-god in that regard. Even though we know that Lord Shiva is higher, still that living entity that takes that position, he is the secondary creator. So it's a very interesting consideration, because Lord Indra is the king of the demigods. That's the exchange between Nanda Maharaj and Krishna when they're discussing the Indra Jagya. And Nanda Maharaj is saying, yes, we have to satisfy Indra. He is the king of the demigods. So that must mean that Lord Brahma is the emperor. In any case, so many intricate, but we should always, if one is not addicted to reading Prabhupada's books, then he will be addicted to some other literature. He has to have that higher taste. Seeking such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he will be fixed in knowledge. Fixed. So it's important that so I was thinking last night, just as I was reading Krishna book, that we should start the popcorn Krishna book program at night when everybody comes back from Sankirtan. Shouldn't be that everybody just comes back and just goes. It should be just like we take breakfast in the morning, we should take hot milk and popcorn at night. So we have a popcorn machine, very nice one. I saw it in the storeroom when I was cleaning yesterday. See what happens when you clean, you find things. And we have a big stock of organic popcorn and organic popping oil. So we have all the ingredients. And my friend Urdiswat, my godbrother, we used to distribute popcorn in Harinam. And he had a secret formula. Of course, it was a little turmeric for color. Of course, it was ghee for flavoring, and a touch of asafoetida. And we used to shake it up in those big plastic garbage bags, and we would take it out. We would wrap it up in smaller bags, but then put all those bags in the big plastic bag. And he was very particular, Urdiswat. He was very detailed oriented. And you get the white baker's bags, because the brown bags show the grease. You're using ghee, you're using butter. So you use the white baker's bags, small, and you fill them with the popcorn, like the popcorn bags. They're always white for a reason. And then we would pass them out on the street. People loved it. On Broadway, up and down Broadway and 7th Avenue, Times Square. We would distribute hundreds and hundreds of bags every Harinam. Hundreds. And it's easy. We don't have to bake cookies and buy just popcorn. Just a suggestion. It worked for us. But especially eating the popcorn at night with the hot milk and Krishna book, that's an essential ingredient. Has to be renovated. I have to do it. I'll personally volunteer to start to cook up, and then I'll transfer the knowledge to someone else to learn the secret of how to use the popping machine. Arjuna Nanda is a likely candidate, I think. He could become the popcorn acharya. Hey, any questions, comments? Yes, Mataji, but you have to speak very loudly without the mask. Can't hear it. Okay. Here's the microphone, and just take.
Yes. Hare Krishna Prabhu. You were speaking about the celibacy.
Mataji, you have to take the
Celibacy. You are speaking about celibacy, and you said that I understand it's better to be celibate because we can focus more and to do the work. But isn't it also important to have the Grihastha ashram, so to continue the creation? But isn't it also we should also practice celibacy within the Grihastha ashram, because to our understanding is that, to my understanding, if we have sex life for our own pleasure, it's considered to be illicit sex. So it's only to continue the creation. So even in a Grihastha ashram, can we also practice the celibacy?
Yes, of course.
And we should, right?
Prabhupada called the Grihastas Grihastha Brahmachari. He only has sex for procreation. It's like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had 13 children. 13 children. And he said, you can have hundreds of children for Krishna consciousness. Hundreds. There's no restriction if you are observing the rules and regulations of the Grihastha ashram. But this is very difficult in Kali Yuga. So one should try to practice according to his means. He should not whimsically engage just to satisfy his senses, thinking that, well, I can't have sex unless I have children, so let me have many children. No, that type of cheating doesn't work. So that's why Prabhupada called Grihastha Brahmachari. He restrains himself even in close association. So this is a great austerity. And it requires determination and fortitude to execute his duty, multiple duties. So Prabhupada said one should not become a Grihastha unless he can increase his service, not for sense gratification, not to get an easy life, not to get some separate living arrangement because he's tired of sharing the washing machine in the brahmacharya ashram or sharing the shower with 10 other men. No, it should be done only for a higher purpose. Because if it's not done for a higher purpose, then he's already handicapped in his realization, and it'll be very, very difficult for him to continue advancing in spiritual life. And we see that happens very often because you have to get a job, you have to do this. So it's a real effort to maintain your Krishna consciousness. You have to be very, very, very surrendered and humble. And of course, getting married, that's one way to make you humble very quickly. So, one should very much carefully consider the situation. And if possible, then he should remain a brahmachari, if possible. This is always the best and the easiest. You can ask any grihastha. No grihastha will say, oh, no, grihastha ashram is the best ashram. No, ask any grihastha. He will say, honestly, it's better to remain a brahmachari. But if you can serve the guru properly, Prabhupada wanted grihasthas to manage the temples. It's a big endeavor. He wanted grihasthas to manage the temples. All the temple presidents previously were grihasthas. That was Prabhupada's formula. And he would send out the grihasthas for preaching to London. You see how effective that strategy was. It worked. So it is not just by some mental concoction at Prabhupada. He was a pure devotee. We don't say self-realized because he was, in that interview, when the reporter was pressing Prabhupada, said, when did you realize God? When did you realize that you are, this devotee, this Vaishnava? Prabhupada said, from the very beginning, from 4 or 5 years old. He's pressed from 4 or 5 years old. They kept pressing until he answered. So we have the greatest benefit to have a pure devotee This is so rare. You know, we have this tendency to take such things for granted. But it's so rare to come in contact with such a great soul as real Mahatma, not these, movie Mahatmas. It's not. Mahatmanas tamam partha, daivi prakriti. Those who really understand. So great. Thank you for that nice question, Mataji. But it's time we have class. We have to go for breakfast, and I have a conference call. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Shri Radha Govinda Dev ki. Look how beautiful this garland maker is. Suggested by Chaitanya Nanda Prabhu. Well, it's a good thing that Muktabani gave us, $1,000 worth of flowers.